Being part of a rural Thai community is better than I ever would have imagined before I moved here. We live at the base of Doi Intanon, very close to a little village called Dat Moon, and we've been welcomed right from the very start. This week's been special because we were invited to come and join in a village ceremony where one of the big extended families are paying tribute to their ancestors, and this is a very special ceremony where the village really comes together and celebrates those who have come before them. And what made it really cool this time was that a couple of the people just voluntarily started sharing a bit more about the history of this village of Dartmoon and how long it's been here and why it's here. So we went up a couple of times to join in one evening where there was singing and dancing. They have some traditional music playing and people like to get up and dance. And there's a lot of storytelling, and it's pretty loud and very difficult to make video. So I decided just to go along with my wife and enjoy being there for that. And the following morning I did take my little camera along and record some of it so I could make this video to share with you some of the special aspects of living in a rural Thai community. So as I said, the evening before there was dancing, there was partying, it was good fun. And again, we had some really good connections, a little bit of conversation. And then in the morning, we went back again to join in the religious side of the celebration. There was a group of monks there that had come to pray and to chant and to receive offerings from the community. As we approached the home, we went in and there was a group of people sitting outside on chairs. The action was happening inside. So we greeted a few people and then made my way to the door thinking I'll just stand at the doorway and take a little bit of video. But as soon as I appeared in the doorway, I was ushered inside. I took a spot on the floor, and within a couple of seconds somebody had brought me a little chair to sit on and made me feel very, very welcome, let me know that it was okay to record video. So I participated, joined in, and was able to record this ceremonial part of it, and it was very similar to others that I've been to where there are offerings made to the monks and the monks will pray blessings and speak encouragement to the people and to just be there to remember the ancestors, those that have gone before. And I really loved it that there was mats laid out on the floor with the English alphabet and dinosaurs, and they were like little kids' mats. So it was very inclusive. Most of the people in the room were elderly, but here it was that the children's mats were also present, and just shows a little bit to me the whole nature of the community of Thai people. When they come together, it's families coming together. And in this situation, it was really special because they were all coming together to honour the ancestors of this one particular family. But the one particular family, I think there are a lot of family members in the village, others who live outside the village but come back for special times to celebrate. And so it's a really big family party when anything's going on. So the real focus is remembering those who have gone before and who have given them their life, brought them to this village, and this is their existence, and they're grateful to their ancestors for this. And then as the prayer time, as the religious part of the ceremony finished and wrapped up, people started to serve breakfast. So the monks had been given offering, they'd been given food, and then there was a whole group of people out the back preparing breakfast, and now this was being brought out and shared with everybody. So the tables were set up and people started to congregate around tables, and very quickly again made us very welcome and invite us to join in. Also outside the house under cover there were two miniature houses. They were houses for the spirits of the ancestors. Most Thai homes and businesses have a spirit house, and this is a very miniature version of the same thing. But on special occasions such as this ceremony, they have a bigger house or two where all of the necessities of life are brought together for the ancestors. So there's clothing there, there's footwear, there was hats. Some of them were labelled with the ancestors' names on them. There's also food and drink brought in, there's some money there, and there's also medicines as well. And so these four things, the home, the medicine, the food, and the clothing, are considered in Buddhist tradition and Thai tradition to be the essentials for life. And this is the display, this is done in remembrance of the ancestors, so providing for their shelter, their well-being, their food, and their clothing. And there's also other things like kitchen utensils and other bits and pieces like that. Plenty of opportunity and bowls left out and a big box left out to make financial donations, because as you can imagine, a big ceremony like this is not a cheap thing to put on. It took 3 months of planning and activity and everybody coming together to build the houses and create all the decorations and prepare all the food, everything like that. So it is a really big undertaking and a really very special occasion. So we felt very grateful to be invited and to be included in the way that we were. And as Punter and I were having a look at these houses, and she was telling me about the story of the things that are included, and we were looking at some of the photographs, and there's one picture in particular that took our eye. There was a little insert in it, and there was a young boy that was all dressed up, ready to go into the temple. This was part of the Poi Sang Long festival that is now not so much practiced by the Thai. The Shan people still practice it, and we've been to a Poi Sang Long festival a few times. They're amazing. This is the time where the young boys will enter the temple to become novice monks for a time. And as we were looking at, a man came up to us and pointed to the photo and told us that that was him in the photograph some 40-something years ago. So we asked him if we could take his photograph and talk to him a bit about that. It was very, very interesting to see and to hear a little bit more of this history of the village. And the village has been here since the Second World War, apparently. People came out from Chom Tong, which is about a 15-minute drive from here. It's the biggest town in the area, and other people coming over from Lamphun as well came to the village here, which is just on the edge of the national park. It's just on the edge of the forest, because they were worried about the Japanese coming in. The Japanese had moved north in Thailand, and these people, these villagers, they wanted to stay out of the way. So they came and built homes here closer to some of their rice fields, and so they were able just to carry on life a bit more normally. And one of the ladies was telling us that on the rice field down in the valley here, the same place I go for a bicycle ride in the morning, they were erecting bamboo poles and placing them in the ground so that the Japanese were not able to land the aeroplanes on this flat land in the rice field. It's one of the only places in this area that would have been large enough to land an aeroplane, but they were concerned and they didn't want the Japanese coming here, so they innovated and put up the little protection that they could have. And I can't imagine what it was like 80 years ago. One of the others told us that they've only had electricity here for about 30 years, which is quite hard to imagine that even as close back as the 1990s, they didn't have electricity in this village. So it's come a long way. I did notice when we were at the ceremony this time that there were a lot more people with smartphones. Even some of the older people have now got smartphones. So things are changing, which is quite normal, and I guess for the better. And then just as we'd finished eating our breakfast, a gentleman came along and introduced himself to my wife and said he was the original village headman in this village. So about the time that the village was recognised and got organised, they had to elect a headman, and this gentleman was the original Pōlawang. So he sat down and was talking to us a bit more about some of the history of the village and how when they first came here there was no electricity, there was no roads or anything. You had to either walk in or come by motorcycle. There was probably not many motorcycles around back then even. Maybe they would come by horse or by buffalo and cart. And he was telling us about how he'd organised the building of the roads and they helped to construct a lot of the infrastructure around here. We're actually going to go back and talk to him and one of the other guys in the village about the water and how they manage and control the water through the canal system and how they develop that, because that is such an essential part of the infrastructure here to bring water to the rice fields, especially at this time of the year. And so we did have a really lovely evening and following morning, joining in with the village and catching up with people. It's a really good time to sit down and have a chat and enjoy being amongst them. One of the guys here that I've quite often chatted with asked me, do I like living here? And I just kind of laughed a little bit. I said, no, I love living here. It's really special, and was able just to share with them about how much I enjoy living here. And this week we've got another ceremony to go to. Unfortunately, it's not a celebration. Somebody in the village has passed away, so we'll be joining in again for prayers for him and then joining in the cremation ceremony following later in the week. But I'm not going to be making video there at this time. But as I said, I never would have imagined that we would be so welcomed here. I'm obviously a foreigner. My wife isn't from this part of the country. But we have always felt so welcome, so warmly welcome here in the village of Dartmoon in rural northern Thailand. And it's just a delight. I've never lived anywhere where I felt so comfortable and so at home and so welcomed by my neighbours in my life. And if you'd like to learn more about our northern Thai lifestyle, you can check out this video here that'll give you some more insights as to why we love it so much. Thanks very much for watching.